what are some trigger points I can treat for my neck pain? For those of you who don't know, trigger points are kind of firm spot within a muscle that tends to cause pain. And so this spot is not just, well, the muscle's tight or the muscle's sore. It's a portion within the muscle that gets really tight and tends to cause pain in other places beyond where that muscle is. And so sometimes if you're having a lot of pain, it can make it harder to treat because sometimes your pain is coming from places that you don't realize. So today I want to share with you my my most effective treatments for some of the most common trigger points for head and neck. So these are trigger point patterns. And so with the trigger point patterns, one of the things that you can see is where the red is, that is where people have pain. And where there's some like red dots, you may or may not have pain there. But where these X's are, that is where the trigger point is in the muscle that's going to cause this pain. So you can see here where these X's are, this muscle causes pain in places that that muscle doesn't even reach. And so knowing which muscles to kind of check and see what is painful might actually surprise you. So we're going to go through a few of these. When you're looking at them, you're looking for spots that kind of hurt so good. And you're not looking to make yourself miserable, but you are looking to find those kind of harder, firmer areas that when you push on them, they're kind of uncomfortable. Now, one of the other questions I get with trigger point treatments is how hard do you push on them? And I like to tell people moderately. So it should be firm. It has to be more than, just lightly putting pressure on it. But you're not trying to, push your thumb through the muscle, or you're not trying to use one of the tools and push it through your body. We have to be kind and gentle with our bodies. And so we want to make sure that we kind of balance being effective, also not trying to bruise ourselves. So you want to find that in-between point. The first one I'll show you has to do with the neck. So if you turn your head, there's this muscle that kind of pops out here. It's called the sternocleidomastoid. And in this one, if you turn your head, you can kind of grab that muscle on the side, if you can kind of see here. And then you just want to compress through it, and you can feel all the way along that muscle where that tightness is. And you want to find that spot that just hurts so good. And you just want to hang out there. So we're going to find that, and then once you kind of find that muscle, you can turn your head back to straight. It takes the slack off the muscle, makes it easier to kind of get in there. And then you're going to hold for about 30 seconds. Notice I did not say 10 minutes, but it's also not grip, grip, grip. It's find the spot and then just hold and hang out there. And so what you're doing is trying to wait for that muscle to relax. You want to feel it back off. The pain should start to go away, and it should just start to kind of soften. Now, when it does soften, you don't want to squeeze harder. That's not your cue to like, great, let's do more. It's actually your cue that that muscle's relaxing, and you can then move on to the next spot. About 30 seconds. So once you do a spot, don't go back to the same spot. You can do that another day, but within one session, you really just kind of want to treat each spot once. So sternocleidomastoid in the neck, that's that one here. The second one is this upper trap muscle kind of right at the base of your neck. So we're looking kind of right up in here. And for those of you that have hand issues, some of these, especially this neck one, you kind of have to use your hands for. And so if your hands are too painful, obviously we don't want to make something worse. So we don't want to make your neck better at the expense of making your hands worse. So you have to kind of balance that, and that may or may not be one that you can do. This is not a good place to use tools. It's harder to control. You have important stuff in your neck. So, don't be trying to use other things on top of it. If that doesn't work for you, just move on to another area. But this upper trap one, that's where we can get into using other kind of tools and techniques. And with some of these, having them allows you to relax better into them, which can actually make it more effective when you're not trying to work kind of with one muscle and relax with another. So for this upper trap, you've got two options. One, my ever favorite lacrosse ball. And you can do that up on that muscle, again on the wall. If you've seen me demonstrate this before, I feel like I've demonstrated several of these quite a bit, but it's because I use them all the time and they are really effective and easy to do. So on the wall, around here, so you can put that ball up on that levator muscle and upper trap, which is really kind of like the top of your shoulder, and then you kind of just lean in, relax, and roll it around. Now, once again, not trying to push the ball through the wall, you're just trying to create that pressure. So that's that top muscle. The second one, back of the shoulder, right on top of that shoulder blade. Again, this can be a good one to use, and if you're having trouble positioning the lacrosse ball, put it in a tube sock. Makes it easier to kind of move around for you. And then once again, you can roll that on the wall. You're also looking, find those spots, about 30 seconds, and get those to kind of relax. Ball doesn't work as well for you. You can use a thera cane. These come in different sizes, different shapes. Some of them look a little more like a weapon than a therapy tool, but they can be really effective. So with a thera cane, for that upper trap muscle, kind of on top of your shoulder here, you're gonna put the end in, and then with these, you kind of can create pressure by pushing out. So it's a little easier on your body, although the canes, you do end up using arm support and arm muscles more so than like the ball on the wall. So you can create that same pressure point, find that spot that hurts so good, and hang out there for about 30 seconds. So we've got the top muscle, we also have the back of that shoulder blade, and again, finding the spot that is the most tender, and most of the time you don't realize that they hurt. Because remember, those pain patterns, not always where the problem muscles are. Last couple, one is for the masseter, so it's the jaw muscle. So you find your jaw joint. So if you open and close your jaw, and you come just down and forward of it, so it should be kind of on your face, and it's those spots, and when you start pushing around, it should be kind of tender. Like they're kind of tend to be sore spots. Now, if you tend to clench or grind your teeth, this can be a huge problem, and that feeds back into that neck. If you feel like you're just pushing on cheek, you probably are. Move it back into that jaw, and this is one I tend to use more fingers with. You can do something like a lacrosse ball on the wall, but be very, very careful that you're not moving your jaw. You're kind of wanting to just compress the muscle into the jawbone more than trying to shove your jaw over. If you're pushing too hard, you'll really feel it in that TMJ joint, and then that cues you just need to back off. And the last one for the trigger points is the base of the skull. So that's kind of why I brought this guy in, because it's easier to see. When we're doing trigger points to muscles, we want to put compression on the back of your skull, not on your neck. You really don't ever want to be putting pressure and strain on the back of your neck. That can really cause you some trouble. So make sure if you're going to be self-treating, it's on the back of your skull here, where you're compressing into that skull bone. That's going to be the most effective. While you can use your fingers and stuff on the back of your head, that tends to be really hard on the rest of your arm. It's hard to get good compression. You can use a lacrosse ball, but you have to be really careful that you're not dropping that lacrosse ball into the back of your neck. So the thing that I tend to use is actually a foam roller, where you can lie down and put that foam roller kind of right on the back of your head on the base of that skull. So once again, not behind your neck, but more up on the base of your skull so that when you lie down, you can relax into it. Now this is a 6-inch foam roller, so when you're lying down, that tends to be a ton of force coming up. So if you're gonna use something like this, you wanna have a pillow or do it on a bed where this can like sink in so that it's really closer to kind of a 3-inch difference. If it's too much, you'll feel like it's just too much strain on your neck, and you don't want that. You want it to be comfortable. You want to be able to relax into it, not be forceful. That is another option that you can try for those muscles right in the back of the head, and those tend to be very helpful. So try a couple of those, let me know how they work for you, and see if you can get some really close to immediate improvement in your pain.